How are you guys today? We are going to be talking about nonverbal communication, otherwise known as body language. I just want to thank you guys for coming. I'm going to post my sources in the chat in a little while. Um, and I want to talk about some of the questions I'll be going over today. Today, I'm going to be answering what is body language? Why is it important to know? How can you come off as more confident using body language? How can you attract others? How can you see if somebody's enjoying your conversation or your presence through nonverbal communication? And how can you tell if somebody's irritated by looking at them? We all do awkward, embarrassing things, but after you notice somebody's being put off by you, how can you play things off using just body language? We're gonna explore that. Whoa, cool stream menu thing. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just sort of figured this out today. Actually, I can't even take credit for that. My friend Ryan helped me as well, so shout out to him. Uh, he has a Twitch stream as well called Game Nights if you ever want to check it out, but he hasn't done it in a while. But yeah. How are you doing, Louie? What's going on with you today? Um, I am adjusting to the new setup as well, so I didn't even see your first message. But I'm really excited. I'm glad you like the new look, the fresh digs. Um, yeah. So before I dive too deep into it, I also want to recommend this YouTube channel called Charisma on Command. So if you are sort of a nervous person or you feel like you're not really on it socially, Charisma on Command is something that's helped me a lot recover from the pandemic. I feel like, I don't know, did you guys feel that too, where after the pandemic it was just like you forgot how to be a person for a minute? I'm excited to help you guys find your own inner confidence and exude the confidence you want to give off. Getting out and seeing this and predicting this, it helps you get it better. And it takes practice. So just have to start with applying it and experimenting with it. So first we're going to dive into what is body language. Oh, I just noticed your other message. You know what? I'm going to adjust how I have this set up because I didn't see your message before that, Louie. Glad to see that you're catching up on things. Actually, no, that looks like poop. I went to turn the screen on to put my notes on there and I realized it looked really bad. Oh well, screw it. I'll put this over here. Oh, snap. Oh wow, I can live update this. That's bonkers. I didn't know I could do that. Well, I guess we're all learning new things. Huh. So, yeah. Speaking of body language, if you can't tell, I'm a little bit nervous because I didn't feel as prepared as I wanted to today. So I'm even bringing my arms in. That's a sign of lack of confidence. So take a moment to observe your body language right now. What do you notice? And how does that align with your feelings? Are your shoulders forward and your chin down, lacking in confidence? Or is your chest out and head up and you're feeling good? Is your head on your hand, leaning in with interest? And in what ways have you changed your posture or embraced it after noticing these things? It's so subconscious, these types of body languages, that hundreds of years ago we had to communicate silently to stay safe. And so we can't control this. We freeze whenever we would be afraid because predators wouldn't see us and we could survive. But those who ran initiated that chase. So now we have a lot more nuance in our body language. And we're going to be going over those nuances today. But the thing is we still can't completely control them. OMG, I'm sitting in the weirdest position and feel called out. It's like the thinker with the laptop. My arms and legs are all angled inward. Oh, like this. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. I feel like that's pretty common when you're at a computer because, like, we want to lean in and we want to be engaged and we want to, get a closer look. Um, yeah, I feel like if you were doing that to a person and the person's face were as far away from you as as your screen, and you just went in like this, that might be a little different. But it's good to know that you're noticing these things. Isn't it funny how you wouldn't be aware of it otherwise? Goblin stance. Yes, that is what I call it. Whenever I find myself like hunched over my phone, I feel like a little, I call it gargoyle. Like I'm just, yeah, my precious. That's what that feels like. Um yeah, it's really funny how body language works like that. You know, you can tell it in it's not just in the face or whatever. It's inflections in the voice and the tone, which is why there's a big disconnect with like text messages. Eye contact, uh, facial expressions, posture. Uh, what emotions do you feel your body language typically displays? Not just right now. Maybe you're, like you said, hunched in on a screen, leaning in, but in talking to someone, in conversation, or carrying yourself whenever you walk into a room, what do you notice about the way your body holds itself and how you move? It can make people comfortable around you or distrust you. I don't know if you've ever listened to much Bill Burr. Uh, he's a comedian, and he talks about how his dog absorbs the energy that he feels. He didn't know that pets could do this, but he'll be watching the game and he'll be like, "Oh, the fucking Raiders!" and he'll get pissed off and start yelling, and then the dog just goes, "Oh, what do we have to be angry about? He's angry. I should be angry. Is it the mailman?" And just starts flipping shit. And we do that too, you know? I feel like I'm the same way. If I notice somebody else being anxious or having an anxious type of body language, I feel that. And I'm like, "Oh, what do we need to be anxious about? Is it the mailman?" So, it really affects the people around you too, and it can contradict what you're saying. You might be saying, "Oh, I feel really comfortable," but you're holding it in like this, and you're all closed off. Or you might even say, "This is a nice place you got here," but the look on your face shows that you're really disgusted. Uh, the weird thing is, people could even think you're lying by your body language. Like if you're saying yes but shaking your head no. Not just that, but much more subtle things. And they have to choose which to believe. So, what instances has somebody said something to you, but you don't believe it because of how you interpreted their expression or their tone of voice? Personally, I can't even think of an example because this happens to me so much. And while you guys think of instances that you might have experienced that, I'll be diving deeper into facial expressions and gestures. Um, I have examples from work that help me work on my eye contact. Oh yeah, tell me. I'd love to hear more about it. Eye contact is a really good one. Visual, like our vision is what's dominant, so it's very important. It shows if we're interested, if we have affection, hostility, attraction, um, and it shows if we are interested in the other person. A person who trained me was Serbian, and she correlated trust to degree of eye contact. Huh, that's really cool. I think that's really interesting. So because I was afraid of her, she thought I was hiding or lying about things. Oh, so I practiced really hard on eye contact. Hmm. And earned her trust. That's so interesting. So did she verbalize that specifically? Like, "Hey, you're not making a lot of like." How did you meet in the middle and find out that that was why she didn't trust you? Um, Actually, it's interesting too that you say about working on eye contact because I was listening to um, this thing talk about how this guy wanted to get better at maintaining eye contact. And so he thought maybe I just have to have big bulging eyes. So he would look at people like this. And people would one of his friends finally was like, "Dude, what the fuck is going on here?" Um, oh, Louis the Claw says, "No, actually, I read that eye contact was valued in Eastern Euro countries and saw her demeanor changed after I practiced." Wow, that is so fascinating. I really I like how you dug deeper into that without her necessarily even having to say anything. Actually, I'm curious. I'm assuming that there was probably something about the way that she reacted to you that made you feel that she didn't trust you. Was there some sort of body language hints or expressions that you felt like hinted that she didn't trust you? Um, I think, oh, I was scrolling through my notes for a second. Yeah, it is crazy how much the little things make a difference. Uh, Even facial expressions are one thing that are universal as like across cultures. Her yelling at me, it was a very intense person. What did she yelled at you? What was even the context? I can't imagine somebody being so angry that they yell at you. Jesus. Like knowing the person that you are and the demeanor you have, it's surprising to me that somebody would just start yelling and at work. Nonetheless, like that's I don't know. Um, in addition to eye contact, it was from day one. Jesus, Jesus. Well, I see why you decided to look up some stuff about her culture, or I guess I assumed. Wait, did you say she? I don't know if I. Yes, you did say she. Okay, I wasn't sure if I was assuming that it was a female or not. Just as I was learning things, if our test servers were broken, I'd hear, "Lewis, what did you do?" Oh my god. That's so scary. I don't know if I can handle that. Like, especially since you have told me that you're a very anxious person, like, I wouldn't even be able to handle that. Like, I don't know how you dealt with that. Um, that's awesome that you took it into your own hands, though, and decided to try and learn little verbal or nonverbal cues. Um, it's really crazy too, like the gestures, the way we wave and point. Like if somebody points at you like this, like that's so aggressive, versus how we use our hands when we're arguing or speaking animatedly. Um, Also, as far as like touch, what's appropriate touch, what isn't. Um, what experiences have you guys had where you wanted to do a friendly touch, but couldn't quite determine what was appropriate or what wasn't appropriate? And in what instances might you have been on the receiving end, where you weren't sure if the touch the other person was giving you was appropriate or not? I know I had that once with a coworker where they were like palling around and they touched my shoulder, and I thought, is this guy coming on to me or is this just how he is? And I think he touched me one other time and I didn't know how to take it, because sometimes it's hard judging on like the relationship with that person, how close you are, um, what the context is. It could be the difference between a weak handshake or a warm hug or a patronizing pat on the head. Also, what's the appropriate space for a person to give a person? Is somebody standing too close? Space is different, also depending on, like you said, Louie, the culture or the closest of the relationship. It shows intimacy, affection, aggression, dominance. Um, how do you consider space between yourself and the other person when in conversation? Oh, I saw your other message, Louie. You said, I'm actually afraid to give supportive touch. Like, very rarely I'll do a shoulder touch, but I much prefer to offer if somebody needs a hug or something. See, I feel like that's reasonable, because I think it's better to play it safe than sorry, to assume that somebody wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable with touch. Um, in a lot of ways. I guess it depends, like, feeling it out, if it's like a romantic situation versus like just a friend, like it makes sense that you wouldn't want to initiate that. Another thing, I'm reading Louis' comment. Another thing I learned about Serbians is that they typically have a lower personal space zone. Same scary lady stood so close to me it would make me blush. If they are showing something to an acquaintance, they will brush you. That's really interesting. Huh. I I wonder how well she would pick up on, like, I think instinctively when we're uncomfortable with somebody coming closer to us, we don't even think about it. We back away. Hell, I remember I was doing forensics. I was performing up on stage as a kid with with the forensic partner I had, and we didn't get along. And I don't know who was inching away first or who was inching towards first, but the person watching us practice said, I don't know if you noticed, but you guys are moving across stage, like he's moving away and you're moving closer the whole time. And I think I just didn't really have a good read as to what was an appropriate space. So in my head, I thought there's a space, I should fill it. And he thought there's too close of a space, like what you experienced, Louis. It's so subconscious that it needed to be pointed out to us. But the more aware you are of it, the better you can make other people feel comfortable. Um, so even the way their voice is, not just the words they use, but the timing, the pace, the volume, the tone, inflection, that can show sarcasm, it can show anger, confidence, affection. So we talked a little bit about what body language is, and we're going to dive into why it's a good thing to know. So, closed body language. And if you're an anxious person, you could probably relate to this. This closed body language tells other people and yourself that you're not confident, and it can ruin social situations like job interviews. If Let me know if you've had any of these happen to you, or if you've been on the other end of any of these. Somebody was doing an analysis of these celebrities, and they said about how Jack Black is intimidating. And if you look at interviews with him, it kind of makes sense. Like, he gives this, like, creepy look, the Jack Black stare, and he's often standing too close, or Arlene, she can't maintain relationships. She's kind and funny, but she shows this tension because she has these raised shoulders, a stiff body, and it makes other people anxious. Smart, well-intentioned people can struggle with communication if they don't know body language. And in what ways might you guys relate to that? Because learning this stuff, it's going to help you build stronger relationships. It's going to help you make better first impressions and feel more comfortable and confident talking to people and confident knowing what you're doing. And just like you were saying, Louis, it can show that you're being honest versus being untrustworthy. You can express yourself easier, and it can even help you reach out to people who are in your position. For instance, at a work event, I actually, there was a bunch of different departments that came together and were meeting each other. And I was concerned that somebody might feel left out or not know how to strike up a conversation with somebody else and feel awkward. So I wanted to make sure that they didn't feel that way. And I looked around for somebody also looking around for somebody to talk to. And I went up to them and I said, "Hey, welcome to this branch. Come on over here. Let me introduce you to some people." And it meant so much to them because I could see their body language before, so worried, like, who am I going to talk to? Later, they actually emailed me and said, "Thank you so much for making me feel so welcome. I felt so worried and anxious going into that, and you made me feel so comfortable." So by learning this, you could pick up on when other people are uncomfortable and help them feel safer too. Louis the Claw says, "I think the hardest part is internalizing body language techniques. it always kind of feels foreign. The arm placement, the shoulder placement is pretty unnatural to me. That makes sense. I think if you are an anxious person, there's that subconscious that it's overriding your consciousness. It's overriding what you want to portray. Like, even right now, like, I have had to remind myself a lot, like, keep your shoulders back, keep them loose. I have such a terrible habit of slouching. Um, so it's interesting that you bring that perspective to the board, because it is so uh, hard to control. And there's certain body language things that you'll never be able to fully control. But the good news is, the more that you practice this stuff, the easier it gets. It just takes practice. Um, actually, how confident are you currently in your ability to read body language? And in what other ways have you struggled with it? I know, Louis, you mentioned about struggling with it with your coworker. How have you had trouble, reading body language, or anybody else viewing? Like, definitely, I'd love to hear your experiences with that. Um, we talked about, being mindful of yours and somebody else's body language. A friend actually gave me an example of what. So I know you guys said about. I know, Louis, you said about your policy on, like, friendly touch and hugs. I don't know exactly what your guys' policy is on hugs, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. One of my friends actually gave an example that he always, when he hugs people, uh, that he leans his hips back when he hugs people, because he's always afraid of what if he accidentally gets, like, a random boner and pokes them with it. And I thought it was so funny that he brought this up, because that is actually, like, I have a huge phobia of accidentally touching somebody's dick when I hug them. So I always hug with my hips out, because I'm always like, I don't want to touch anybody's wieners. So I don't know. Does anybody else have that paranoia? Like, am I the only one that feels that way? Um, oh, I missed your message. You said Louis says reading body language. I'd say 6 out of 10. I catch a glimpse from time to time, and I think they were nervous for a moment. Was that laugh forced, but never for sure? Yeah, I think it's interesting, the way body language works is that we have to choose between what are we going to believe, what they're saying or what they're showing with their body. Um, so that makes sense. Um, and so what kind of things have you noticed where you thought maybe somebody might be nervous? And I saw your other message. I used to worry about that, not too much anymore. Oh, well, that's good. I don't know. I'm glad I'm not the only one that worries about that. I don't know. I still do that because I'm always like just a little lean. um, but yeah, actually, interestingly enough, I learned we're gonna dive into how to be more confident in your body language. Um, Scientific evidence has actually shown that ch- changing your body posture will transfer the feeling you're trying to present to your brain and make you feel more comfortable and confident, as opposed to tense body language. Even doing this right now to, like, exemplify makes me feel uncomfortable. So try that at home, and, like, let me know how you feel. Like, if you're going like this versus how you feel with your shoulders back and your chin up and your chest out. Tell me how you feel a difference with that. Um, or even if you don't, like, let me know. Um, and as we talk, try to practice how you carry yourself as I'm explaining some of these things too. The best thing to do is to the best thing to do is to open your body language to make people feel more comfortable. Palms out. It shows I have nothing to hide. Shoulders back, stance wider. Um, I've uncurled myself out of the thinker. I'm so far from the screen. I just picture you being like, This is what I picture you looking like right now. Eh. Oh, I just turned the volume up on my headphones really loud. Oh, oh. um, Smooth gestures are another thing. How do you see yourself moving? You know, this isn't a rhetorical like do you see your movements as quick pose to pose? Like the what's his name from Star Trek where every movement was like, "Quick, we need to get to the ship." Like or do you find yourself sort of gliding into each gesture? Uh take into account like if somebody if you're writing something, you've got your paper and your pen and somebody tries to get your attention, do you look up like this or do you with that nice smooth easing into that? Um how do you find yourself as far as flow and timing goes? Um Smooth gestures show confidence. See how my hands are even loose, my fingers are far apart, spread, when you walk like you're on a mission to shake somebody's hand, or, oh, I'm gonna sit right here, like you know exactly what you're doing, you're in charge. You're in charge of time, The cool guy isn't affected by the clock. Um, Oh, I missed your other message. You said, "Ooh, it's hard to picture." I remember I was in a play way back in middle school and everyone asked me to be less robotic. It's hard. I think especially as a kid to maneuver body language because and that's another reason why I wanted to teach this is because nobody teaches you this stuff. You just kind of get thrown to the wolves to figure it out by yourself. And how the hell are we supposed to do that? Um Side note, I'm curious, how many of you guys have ever worried, like, oh, I'm bad at reading body language. What if I, like, have autism or something? That is such a common thing for people to worry about. And chances are you know, you might be overanalyzing that. Me, oh, see? You know what? Louis the Claw, that is okay. I have too. I once sat at a table with 6 other people and asked them that same question, and I said, who here has not ever wondered if they had autism because they felt socially awkward? And everybody was in agreement. It was crazy. Everybody goes through that. So just because you feel socially awkward, it doesn't necessarily mean you're on the spectrum or there's something abnormal about you. Sometimes it's just, especially if you were raised in a household that perpetuated this anxiety, it's no wonder that you exude that sort of feeling. Um, you know, as far as moving smoothly and everything, like even when I was naming ways to pose better before, like Louis, whenever you said you moved out of the thinker, how did you move out of it? Like was whenever I call attention to any of these body pose movement things, um what is the speed or flow that you change the pose? Uh, how did you feel that reflected how you were feeling in that moment? If I said, "Hey, you are, hunching forward," were did you find yourself being like, "Oh, I'm gonna slowly recline here," or were you more like, "I need to recline now"? What was your flow in making these adjustments? Um, Similarly, don't let your smile change immediately after a funny moment. Like, let it fade away. Mark Zuckerberg was called out for this because he was in a court case where like a lot of people say he looks robotic, which was sort of in line with what you had said, Louis, about people telling you to look less robotic. People joke that Mark Zuckerberg is an alien or a robot, and when he smiles, he'll make a joke, and then he'll go immediately after. Not a genuine smile doesn't fade, like, it doesn't do that. That'd be insane. Like, if you told a joke and somebody's like, that's hilarious, you'd be like, what the fuck just happened? Um, Louis says, I align my spine very mindfully, partially from a stiff back, partially from trying to take good care of it. Well, that's great. See, I'm glad that you were able to have that mindfulness. And actually, one of the things that I'd be touching on later that I'll bring up now is you mentioned that you do meditation. That actually can help relax you in a way that you can give off better vibes. You can have a more confident body language because you're more at ease. So I think that's really interesting that you were able to mindfully adjust your body posture without, snapping into it anxiously. Um, Another thing is, with your hands. We talked about open palms is open and receptive. We like this because this means, look, I don't have any knives that I'm gonna stab you with. Look how nice and non-threatening my hand is. Versus if somebody pointed at you, like that's so intimidating. Like we don't like that. If you point at a baby, it'll cry. If you point at a ferret, it'll distrust you. It'll feel anxious, like any animal. We don't like that. So if you need to point, instead using your hand to gesture with your hand out like this, you could go like that, or you could even go with your fingers together to point, but don't do the one finger thing. That I've even noticed how much I do that, and I didn't even realize that before. I never knew that pointing was a bad thing. I knew you weren't supposed to point at ferrets because my little training book said not to do that, but nobody said, well, I guess, you know what? Shit. I guess that's why they say pointing isn't polite. I mean, you guys have heard that before, right? The whole don't point, it's not polite. They didn't give me the fucking option to do something else. If somebody had said, hey, go like this, I'd be like, oh, okay. But my whole life, I'd be like, well, what the fuck else am I supposed to do? I'll point, goddammit. Yes, absolutely. Yes! See? You get it. Oh my god! See? I just did it! No! I should have been like, yes, see? You get it. There we go. I redid it. I builded back better. It's a very bad Joe Biden reference. I tried my best. Yeah. See, even then, after making that joke, I went in like, ooh, that was a bad joke. And then my shoulders went up, and I started to curl up into a little ball there. So, the dad emoji. Yes. That's also the thinker pose. Huh. Yeah, researching this was a lot of fun because I started to notice how many things I do that show not confidence. And I feel like, oh, I think I exude confidence and feel like a confident person, but then I look at my body language and I'm like, we could tweak some things here. Thank you again for coming, Louie. I really appreciate it. I guess, not a lot of people could show up tonight, but I'm really glad to have you in the chat, and anybody who's here, it's good that you're here. For those of you who are catching up on the archive, hello, and I hope you can make it to the next stream. As far as hands go, so we talked about, pointing, doing something like a chopping hand. This is driving home a point. And you would do this with the cadence of what you're saying. So if you're really trying to drive home a point, like, you're Bernie Sanders and you're like, we need to legalize marijuana. Like, every beat of that cadence, he's doing that chopping. But even as I'm explaining this, I noticed I'm doing that. It's so subconscious. No problem, Shorty Pop. Good to be here. Aw, thank you. Yeah, it's crazy as I'm explaining this, like how I notice myself doing these things. Also, another little faux pas I did was I touched my face, and I'm noticing I do that when I'm anxious, and now every time I touch my face, I'm like, stop it. It doesn't seem like this would be something I'd be anxious to do because I'm used to it, but I still do sometimes get anxious streaming because there's an expectation. And now that I know different ways to frame my body language, I'm so much more aware of it. as far as the hand thing too, like a swatting hand. It's like I'm not behind that, pushing it away. Practice practice your hand movements and stuff like that even when talking in a mirror or by yourself when no one else is around. You know, do you notice when you guys move, like do you notice like if you notice your hands moving? Well, Louis, since you said you never really know where to put your hands, do you use your hands to speak? I'm wondering if that might help you a little bit because if you there was actually an interesting study done where they tied people's arms to their sides and they noticed that when people had their arms restrained, they were less talkative, they were less enthusiastic, they seemed less confident. Um, Louis says, I do a lot at work. I'm starting to think I'm more confident in a work setting. Okay, well, I think that makes sense because at work, it's like, you've been in that field for so long, you know what you're doing. But when we're meeting new people, we're not an expert in that person. So it makes sense that it would be a little bit more difficult. If you're not sure where to put your hands, because I know we talked about, don't don't put them in the pockets. Like this doesn't look confident. This doesn't look confident. You're bringing everything in. Louis says, yes, that makes so much sense. Yeah, get animated. Bring your arms out and your shoulders away from your sides. Uh, you know, you don't want to do this thing that's called T-Rex arms, where it's like you're all in this little box. Even if you're dancing on a dance floor, you don't want to dance like shimmy shimmy, shimmy shimmy. Like you want to like get all in it and like even if you're dancing like an idiot or whatever, it's still fun. Just have fun with it. Feel like you're a cartoon character. Um, it makes it more interesting and engaging to watch. And we'll get more into that in a little bit. I have so much I'm excited to dive into. Um, but as far as, feeling loose, if you're too loose, uh, there's a good balance. You know what I mean? If it's too loose, you might seem not serious. That could be a good thing. There's nothing wrong with seeming playful. But if you want to make a serious point, like just now when I did that, like my hands tensed up because I'm like, serious point. You want to have a range of body movements that match what you're trying to say, contextually. So if you're trying to be serious, you might, really hammer home the point. But if you're trying to be loose, you won't have those abrupt stops or that harsh cadence. How often do you notice or how much do you find yourself struggling to remember like to put your shoulders back, or how often have you find yourself wanting to improve your posture? What helped you with it? What helped you work on it, if anything? Hell, I had like a little brace that I had on for a while. I got on Amazon that like pulled my shoulders back, and I wore it to a job interview because I was worried I'd slouch. But there's all kinds of ways to practice bringing your shoulders back. Um, if you have trouble with it, they were saying this ball technique of like putting a tennis ball or whatever and then putting yourself against the wall and sort of rubbing it out, and it loosens the muscles. Um, if you feel like that is something that you struggle with, that could be something to try by yourself. I wouldn't go, grabbing a tennis ball at Walmart and then going up against the aisles like this, because somebody might call security. But if you do it in the privacy of your own home, it can help you loosen things up. Louis the Claw says, I think in social situations I'll just start slouching and have to remind myself, shoulders back, chin up. See, I like that. Um, yeah, keeping your chin up, that's actually a great point. A lot of people will put their chins down. Uh, but keeping your chin up shows pride, it shows comfort. Uh, in caveman, because we talked a little bit about caveman days, everybody used to feel threatened. We would close up, lower the chin, hunch down, protect our vulnerable areas. And We don't need to do that so much anymore. Even in animation, when we were learning about walk cycles, the book said like women walk like this, protecting the business. um, but we don't necessarily need to close off anymore. We're not in the wilderness. We don't need to worry about stuff like that. We can take up space and like you can't see my legs, but like you could put your knees out. Like just don't be afraid to take up space. But what about random mountain lion attacks? Listen, I feel that, okay? I've played enough GTA to know that that is a real thing to worry about. And if that happens, you just push R3 and then you get your shotgun out. You get a machine gun out. You don't need to play fair with mountain lions, okay? It's not like shooting a deer. That's my advice. I love those emojis. Damn it, the emoji of my dad is my favorite one for sure. Um, so yeah, we talked about keeping your chin up, and we said about practicing meditation. Um, since you said you do practice meditation, uh, I'm curious, what ways have you found it helps you? Um, or for those of you who haven't practiced it, is that something you might consider doing? Um, to get people to start to relax, try mirroring their behaviors. Are they leaning back to get space? Then you lean back. Are they leaning forward, interested? Don't be afraid to lean forward and interest too. But like we said before, move slowly, because a cool guy isn't affected by the clock, my dudes. It helps me to quiet the intensity of my thoughts. I get racing thoughts, and the meditation is a huge help. It's practicing empty mind. It makes me focus easier in the rest of my life. Hmm. See, I'm actually very jealous that that works so well for you because it is so hard to get my mind to not think about things. Like, before practicing meditation, did you find it was hard to just turn your mind off, or was that always something that you were sort of able to do? We'll practice meditation sometime. I would love that. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, as in you felt like you couldn't turn it off? Cause holy shit, like that's where I'm at now. Like I've given up on meditation cuz my mind would run itself into exhaustion. Yeah. Yeah, if you could fucking teach me that, that'd be amazing cuz I do not know how to not I don't know how to not think. So, I'm jealous that you're able to do that. Um so in the context of you're trying to get comfortable around with somebody, the key is oh, I missed your message. The key is to not let it frustrate you when you think. It takes time. We could start small. I have heard that to not get down on yourself if you can't clear your mind. Like instead of thinking about, "Oh, why am I thinking of Billy from 3rd grade or whatever," you just be like, "Oh, okay, that thought came to my head. I shall go back to meditating." Doesn't keep me from getting angry. The more times I do that, the more pissed off I get. So I'm very impressed with the patience that you have to be able to not worry about it. I never really get down to zero thoughts. I mega fixate on breathing or the wind or a fan. Hmm. That makes so much sense. I never actually thought about it that way before. I thought like you just had to get down to zero thoughts, but to just try to have the most of your focus on one thing makes better sense to me. You're teaching me something. That's really cool. Um, Louis says sweet. I love that little emoji. It's so cute. Oh, quick side note. Whenever I get new followers, there's gonna be like a little zombie thing that appears right here where it's like walking and like, "Arr." So I got that set up, plus a little follower goal at the top here too. Oh, at the top here too. See how I totally didn't just point right now? Um Also, as far as mirroring people goes, if you want to get people to feel more comfortable around you, we talked a little bit about, if they're leaning in, you lean in. If they're leaning out, you lean out. Don't change immediately. Just do it smoothly whenever it feels natural. And, you know, I noticed doing that at work, whenever me and a coworker were leaning into something, I thought, okay, my shoulders hurt, but I was a little bit afraid to lean back and seem disinterested. But when I leaned back, he leaned back too, and I thought to myself, oh, that shows some level of mutual respect because he's mirroring my body language. I think I try to mirror a little bit when I remember. Okay. Well, also, it's good to keep in mind when other people mirror you because when I was it's so subconscious. I was talking to a guy. This was years ago. This was a guy that I was dating. Um we were in his car and I was explaining to him about body language. And before I started explaining mirroring, I took my foot and I just put it across my knee like this. And he did the same thing. And I said, see how you just copied what I did? You didn't even think about it. It was instinctual because you're interested in me. And it doesn't necessarily mean somebody like, oh, like wants to fuck you. It just means that they're jiving with you if they reflect that. But it was so subconscious that even in that moment when talking about body language, he still adjusted it to what I was doing without even realizing it. I see, it's a sign of engaged discussion. Exactly, exactly. See, that is a much less wordy way of putting it. You phrased it really well. um, Another thing that they say is don't plan what you're going to say next or check your phone because you'll miss these nonverbal cues. You have to be fully present. I am so bad at not thinking about what I'm going to say next sometimes because I just get so excited. Like, do you guys do this too where you just get so excited of what you're going to say next? Like, how often do you find yourself thinking about what you're going to say next? And in what ways do you make a conscious effort to be present in the moment? Or have you ever thought, I should be paying attention right now, but you're so focused on how you should be paying attention that it's hard for you to pay attention because you're focusing on that you should be paying attention? I hope I'm not the only one that's been in this loop. Oh, Louis says, oh no, it's hard to get out of my head. I get so bad. Sometimes I find myself thinking about a branch of the conversation that was never taken. Oh no. Yeah. Oh. Pardon me. Louis says, somebody segues into another subject. I'm thinking about our fake conversation continuing on to the same subject. Yes, I get that. Oh my god. It is really hard, especially like sometimes when you're at a party and you think of a really good story to tell and somebody like changes the topic and you're like, is there a way I can squeeze in this thing that we were talking about 10 minutes ago? Like, I totally get that. Um Actually, that reminds me of something Jacob taught me. Was it's about the journey, not the destination. It's like, okay, maybe we didn't get to this point in the conversation, but I mean, he didn't apply it to conversations, he applied it to life. But even in a conversation, it's like we're just focusing on the good time we're having. You know what I mean? It's okay if we don't hit the bullet points. um Louis says, haha, I've been there. Yes, I really like Jacob's music theory analogy for conversation. Um, what was his music theory analogy? I don't remember that. Sorry, I was making that noise looking through my notes, and then I realized I just made a weird sound into the mic. Very basically, he tries to create harmonies and chord progressions, like he's contributing to what's there. Oh, That makes sense. Okay. Um, yeah, I like that. The it's good to do a like a vibe check, you know? Uh just checking on how you're presenting to other people, um and how that flows with other people. Because stress shows these off-putting signals that can cause you to be misinterpreted too. Uh like I mean, you were even saying about being afraid to make eye contact with somebody who was intimidating, and that being misinterpreted. I could be pissed off driving through the city and doing Uber, and somebody else might sense like, oh, she's really leaning in like an angry grandma. Like, that kind of stuff just exudes that feeling. So doing these little vibe checks of how am I feeling and how am I presenting helps. um Also, calming down in a conversation if you're upset helps to show better body language and makes others more comfortable. And a way to do this, and if anybody's done therapy, you already know this technique of grounding yourself, where you name something you touch, something you smell, something you taste, something you hear, something you see. So let's practice that right now by grounding ourselves. What's one thing you can touch? Right now I'm feeling my hands. They're very dry. I need lotion. Uh, what's one thing you can smell? I just became aware that I'm in the ferret's room and I need to change their litter box. um, what's one thing that you see? Well, I see my my streamer light and some stars that I stuck to the ceiling. Oh wait, look, I'm glow in the dark stars. So I have nice peaceful imagery around me. What do you guys like? How would you ground yourself? What do you see and smell and taste and hear to be present in this moment and just feel calm? Touch the rigid, grainy keys of the keyboard. Smell my feet. Unfortunately, just took my socks off. Oh no, that's the worst. Ugh, I took my slippers off today and I just felt how sweaty inside they were, and I'm like, I don't know what to do at this point. Like, it's the worst feeling. See the calm evening lighting of my room. I like how you find it calming. I always find the dark to be anxiety inducing, and I like to turn on a bunch of little lights. So that's an interesting take. Oh, ooh, pardon me. See, I've gotten back into the habit of covering my mouth when I yawn since I mentioned how that's my pet peeve of my dad. Can I see we got to put the dad emoji in anytime I talk about him. There we go. I made it. Liberace, hi. I made it. I'm at a gas station and I smell gas. Well, I'm glad you could come. Anytime I make a reference to my dad, we're gonna do the dad emoji. Yay! I'm glad that you're a part of it. Hi, Liberace. Aw, you guys are so sweet. Yeah, so we're talking about grounding ourselves to make us feel more calm in a conversation. Um, Hi, Louie. Hi, Shorty Pop. I'm really glad you could make it. It feels good whenever you guys are engaging in the chat and coming here. Um, yeah. Another couple things that I was learning about with body language is don't let your voice get high. If I was saying stop, you're under arrest, like nobody would take that seriously. But if I said stop right there, you'd be like, um there was a celebrity who he accidentally got so excited that his voice got super high, and he turned it into a joke and played it off. He said, "So sorry," and then repeated it as low as possible, and it got a laugh from the audience. So he was able to take an awkward moment and turn it into something funny by calling out to it. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with doing that. Actually, it helps a lot. If you have to say no, saying something sternly, that can reinforce that boundary too. So sometimes being stern can be a benefit. Sometimes being a little threatening can be a benefit. If somebody's making you uncomfortable and you do the palm down, fingers spread no, versus because that's showing like dominance. Hand down is dominance. If we have our fingers spread, that's showing I'm confident in my decision. If I make eye contact with you and I furrow my brow and I lower my voice, I say no. Like, think about how much more that sells home the point than if I just said no. You wouldn't respect that boundary if I said no. That would be like, I can push, this person's a pushover. I could easily make them, you know what I'm saying? Like, when trying to set boundaries, how confidently do you express them in your body language? And if you can't think of how often do you feel people respect your boundaries? And how might this differ if you adjusted how you non-verbally communicate? I said about gesturing your hand out when you say something and spreading your fingers because that commands respect. Practice that. If you're at home and you're talking to yourself, practice moving your hands in this palm up, finger spread way. In noticing how you use your hands, what do you notice your hands doing? Or what do you recall doing more often? Since this is subconscious, it might be hard to find an answer to that question, for that to come to mind. But I'd be happy for you if you shared your experiences with it and how you feel that the way you move your hands parallels to your emotions. I know, Louie, you said that when you get nervous, your hands go in your pockets, or sometimes when we get nervous, we interlace our fingers. Do you find your hands expressing more confidence or more, showing a lack of? Or how do you notice yourself expressing yourself just by looking at how you move your hands? Louis the Claw says, I gesticulate more at work, and usually I'm dragging representations of data structures around while I'm explaining something. Oh, that's really cool. See, I would actually be interested to see you work and see how your body language changes when you're confident in that setting versus in a social setting. Liberace says, I was told that talking with your hands in an interview can come off as nervous. I don't know. I don't know if I've heard that anywhere. I'm curious as to why. So I was taught not to do that as much as interview situations, but I think I talk with my hands a lot and lots of facial expressions. I'm not really sure how it would show a lack of confidence. I think honestly, hand gestures show confidence because you're taking up space. The more you bring your movement bubble out, the more comfort you show. Like if I like to use the example of if you're dancing, if I'm dancing like this, like a little Charlie Brown, like me T-Rex arms, versus if I'm dancing like with my arms out and stuff like that. I'm trademarking those sick dance moves right now. But the more space you use up, the more confident and dominant you feel. Whenever I'm on a dance floor, people will move out of my way. Like, I've had people cheering for me when I dance, and I'm using my whole body, and people move in a circle around me because of how I'm moving my body. And you want to be able to do that with your body language. You want to be expressive. You want to be that person that everybody wants to look at. So we're actually going to be diving in soon as to how to, attract somebody at a bar, or be that life of the party that everybody wants to walk up to and come to, or maybe you're at a social event where you don't know anybody, but you want people to gravitate towards you. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, and I'm really excited about how we're diving into it. Another thing is, Oh, I missed some of your messages. I'm sorry, you guys. Louis says, yeah, in social situations, the hands go to the pockets, or I really want to cross my arms, but I know I'm not supposed to, so it's like choosing not to eat ice cream that's in front of me. Okay. Yeah, if you aren't somebody that talks with your hands, it is really hard to not want to put them somewhere. You know what I mean? Liberace says, right? Like, it shows that you're interesting in what you're saying and encourages the other person to listen. Exactly. Very, very true. You're exactly right. Um, Another thing, in addition to hands, is how we talk, the inflections that we use. You want to try not to use what's called up talk. Uh, what's up talk? See how I put the up emphasis at the very end of that sentence? That's sort of the typical, like, dumb blonde way of speaking. You know, if I ended every sentence with this, like it was a question, I wouldn't feel very confident. I wouldn't seem very confident. I would seem like I was literally questioning everything I said. Um do you guys have a habit of doing that, or do you feel like you're pretty good at punctuating with what you say with you know, an inflection that shows some sort of confidence, or what do you notice in how you inflect and how that parallels to your confidence? Um even if you do speak in that uptalk voice, don't expect the same, like, even if that's just how you talk, don't expect the same respect as if you tried not to do that. When you talk, if you're at a lapse for what to say next, how do you react? Do you use fillers like like, or even swearing, or do you fill the spaces with pauses? What do you feel in moments of silence with somebody? Do you feel comfortable, anxious? I'm not sure. I think I have different modes, but if I'm excited, I totally lose track of where my voice is, says Louis. I do have a natural low register that kicks in if I need to express a boundary. Well, that's great. I think it's good that you're able to, I bit my tongue, instill boundaries with your inflections and that you know how to do that. Um, as far as how do you handle silence, I'm really interested to hear from you guys what you do if you don't know what to say. Like, what is your comfort level if there's just silence with somebody? Uh, if you don't know what to fill that silence with, fill it with pauses. Because space forces people to anticipate what you're going to say next. Think of the Martin Luther King speech. He says, I have a dream that one day, like, those pauses just stuck in. I think I do the up talking a bit, or the in between thing. I like to nod and agree to show I'm listening, but then it turns to me interrupting people when that's over the phone. Oh yeah, I do that too, where I'm like, yeah, uh huh, and then I'm like, I'm saying yeah, uh huh, too much. What if they think I'm annoyed? Because that could indicate to somebody, like, if somebody says uh huh, yeah, uh huh, like, if somebody says that too much, they could be wanting you to wrap up what you're saying, so it could be their turn to talk. But they could just be but on the other hand, like, what Louis saying is, if you're trying to express that excitement, sometimes you could be worried it could come off that way. um let's see. Oh, I think I skipped some of your messages. Excuse me. uh Highly situational. Oh man, the chat is like blowing up. Let me see. Which did I read already? Different modes when you're excited. To at least. Okay, I read that one. I have some uhs. Oh, I have some uhs. Moments of silence are highly situational. They're very comfortable to me, with close friends, uncomfortable with acquaintances. That makes sense. I've learned to get more comfortable with silence with people doing Uber, because it's like, I've realized some people just don't want to talk. And like, even when I was like getting my tattoo done, there'd be times where I just like wouldn't be trying to think of anything to say because I'd be comfortable just sitting in silence and it's fine. But then my tattoo artist would try to start up conversation, and a part of me would feel like, I hope that she doesn't feel like I'm not engaged or feels awkward in the silence. I just feel comfortable. Except for the fact that my arm's getting stabbed. um, Louis says, if I'm silent with you, it says I feel so comfortable with you that I'm at ease not performing in this moment. And Louis says, oh haha, I'm almost too active again for working with people from other cultures. Oh, active in like what way? Like is moving around a lot something that gives anxiety to people who like are from other cultures? Um Liberace said, and the pauses in the middle of the sentence are good because if you pause at the end of your sentence, then people might think you're done talking. Oh, that's a good point. It, side note, it's interesting where we come from, even like New York versus California, versus Maine or Minnesota, a small town versus a big city, whatever you will they have different thresholds for how long a pause means that it's their turn to talk. A New Yorker, you could pause for half a second at the end of a sentence and they'll think it's their turn to talk. But somebody from another state might not get a word in edgewise with several people from New York talking to each other because their understanding of when to jump in is so much longer than somebody from, a fast-paced city. Um, Louis says, I work with Indians as well, and they have very active voices, saying okay after every sentence. I started doing this myself. Oh, that's really interesting. I, that's something I hadn't even considered as far as, like, being different among cultures. That's the tricky thing about body language, is a lot of it differs by culture, but facial stuff is ubiquitous. Um, Liberace says, I was just thinking the same thing. Doing Uber helped me realize that awkward silence in the car thing is okay. If they want to talk, they'll talk. Well, I'm glad that that's helped you. And yeah, exactly. Silence isn't always awkward silence. Sometimes sometimes it's enjoyable silence. Louis says, I mean active voice. I see. Okay. Yeah, I didn't see your other message until just a minute ago, so that makes sense now. Um, yeah. So we talked about filling the spaces with um silence. See, I just said I was thinking and I said so we're not perfect. All of this stuff takes practice. Um Also, how you sit in a chair shows how your confidence level is. So how are you sitting in your chair right now? Are you sitting straight up? Are you sitting slouched? Are you doing the cool guy lean? I'd love to hear how your guys's postures are right now. When I said that, I looked over expecting to be hunched, and I was like, "Wow, I have great posture." I don't know if that's just because I'm talking about it or because my friends are here and I'm feeling more confident or what, but that felt good to notice my posture being proper for once. My back got tired and I'm laying back. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. See, you're doing you're just you're just chilling. Um, Nothing wrong with that. Let's see here. Um, oh, this is a verbal one, but if silence, oh, well, I'm in my car, so I'm slightly reclined. Well, there you go. See, that's chill. You know what I mean? You're just kind of vibing. You're not like this. As long as you're not doing T-Rex arms, shoulders up to your ears, it's like sounds like you're vibing. Um how does that relate to how you're actually feeling right now? So, reclining or laying back, do you guys feel at ease right now? And do you think that that's reflecting your body language? Um, if silence does make you uncomfortable, like if I don't know, so say somebody asked me a question and I don't know how to answer it right away, I might start off with, that's a good question, because it gives me more time to think, and the person feels good that they asked a good question. So they'll be more receptive to your answer. Plus, it gets someone's attention. If you, we talked about like looking up slower and not jerking your head if somebody, comes into the room, because you have that time, you have that smoothness. All this stuff is sort of coming together. Um, Self-grooming or self-soothing behaviors look less confident, because why are you soothing yourself if you're confident? You know, um, if you're scared, own it. Say, instead of trying to not be found out, which literally worsens the social anxiety, you could even say, like, if you're standing around with some friends and maybe it's boys on this side, girls on this side, you could be like, hey, this kind of looks like an eighth grade or a sixth grade dance. Why don't we mingle up a little bit? Like, you can point it out and get a chuckle out of people. Um, I'm curious, what are some instances that you disliked somebody, like, well, we'll go into that in a second. We're going to talk a little bit about, growing confidence and stuff, because the biggest key in, oh, I just saw your message. Yeah, I'm pretty relaxed. Well, I'm glad. Yeah, the biggest part in having good body language is feeling relaxed. So that right there, like, just embody that, because that confidence, it may not always be there, but it's something that we can grow, and you just have to practice it. Um and like we said about there's scientific data that shows if you move your body in a way that conveys that you're relaxed, your brain will think, "Oh, I must be relaxed cuz I'm moving all chill." Isn't that fucking crazy? Um so, be self-aware also when you form opinions on other people. Get better at reading yourself, notice when you change your opinion on other people. When that happens, what are you doing? When you start to think, I don't trust them, or this person is awesome, or this person seems sharp, notice your subtle cues. Sometimes I talk to myself in the mirror, and I've noticed when I, rehearse a conversation in my head, I imagine somebody saying something I don't like, and I've noticed my eye twitch, and I never would have noticed that otherwise. I notice when my smile fades, when my expression is asymmetrical. That's another thing. If somebody's expression is asymmetrical, uh, it seems off. It's hard to read because, like, half of it looks happy and the other half might seem incredulous or, you know. Uh, so that is something that we can tell shows discomfort. So if you notice yourself having an expression that is asymmetrical, know that that could convey anxiety or a lack of confidence, and notice that in somebody else. What instances has someone done something you disliked and you unintentionally exhibited that? Or maybe they called you out on it. For me, um, my micro expressions I didn't even realize were happened. I, like, whenever I first moved in by myself and I was living by myself for a while, and I got so used to having everything perfectly tidy and order as just as I wanted it, and somebody came over and they were trying to be respectful and use a coaster, but because the coasters were about to not be stacked perfectly when he took one, I accidentally gave him a death glare, and he was like, "You looked at me like that, like me taking this coaster was about to ruin your whole day," and I didn't even realize it. Have you guys had any of these experiences where, you gave somebody this that you mean mugged him, like gave him that mean look, and you didn't even realize why. It just came out, and you're like, oh shit, like I didn't realize you could tell that I felt that way. Liberace says, if somebody says something I don't like, I take a quick, I think I do a quick breath. I'm trying to like a breath in or breath out. Like I'm trying to visualize like, like a, like I'm trying to like picture to visualize that. Um, I'm also gonna list some body language things that you can change or watch out for on yourself. Um, which of these might you have a habit of doing? And what exacerbates it? Here's ones you can change, right? We talked about the hands in pockets, because that makes you look nervous. It's kind of the only plus of women's clothing not having pockets, is you kind of get used to not having them. Um, breathe in like sucking in air quickly. Oh, okay. I get you. That makes like a sort of gasp. Okay. Um, So, by being aware of that, you can notice what vibes you're giving off to other people. And that can be good in some ways, because it's like, okay, I want to notice when somebody else is uncomfortable. So if they do that quick breath, you'll know what that means because you've experienced it. Meanwhile, if you're trying not to seem offended, or trying not to seem uh like you're upset with somebody, and a little bit of that leaks out, you can be more aware of it. But at the same time, sometimes people say something that say sometimes somebody will say something that makes you uncomfortable, or you don't like it, and you don't necessarily owe it to them to verbally express that. You could just give them a look, and sometimes that says it all, you know. um I know the thing. Louis says, I know the thing I do. Well, if I got really bothered, something people noticed my expression would come unsettlingly neutral. I'm like, I can't even picture that. Like, wait, I tried to like draw it. Like, this is just what like. I can't even draw an unsettlingly neutral face. Like, even the eyebrows, I'm like trying to read that. Like, he looks a little like, I can't, like I can't even perfectly do an unsettlingly neutral. This? Literally this? Uh, oh, I missed your other message. I'm glad. See, I'm glad that I've conveyed the Louis face for all to see. Meh. Um, I missed your other message where you said, it's like a rapid reaction. I notice myself angry or bothered and don't want to show it until I've taken time to tell if it's rational or not. Huh. That's really interesting. See, I kind of wish that I could do that a little better, because I am so expressive that when I'm mad, I like wear my emotions on my sleeve. And it's good that you have that, especially working in like the environment you do, because it's very corporate. Whereas expressing your emotions in a corporate setting where you shouldn't necessarily, wear your emotions on your sleeve, that's very difficult to navigate that. Liberace says, OMG, I remember. I used to have coworkers point out that I do the tongue-in-cheek thing when something ticked me off. Oh, shit! Yeah, like freaking, Bill Clinton. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. I knew it turned into a fun inside joke, but everyone knew right away when I was not pleased with something. Oh shit. I don't think I've ever actually noticed somebody doing that. And I don't know if I've ever noticed, like, I'm trying to do it now and see if I can tell. Like, I don't know if I've ever noticed myself doing specifically that or not, but that's really interesting. Um, that sucks now that, like, I'm glad they turned it into a joke, but it also sucks now that as soon as you do that, like, they all know. Well, actually, how do you feel about it? Is, like, about them knowing? Do you prefer that they know it and it's like an inside joke, or do you kind of wish, like, they didn't know about it, so your emotions could go a little bit more masked. Um, let's see. Let's see what I went through on here. All right, we already talked about oh, one other thing I was going to mention that I thought was interesting was there was an FBI body language professional body language analyst who broke down the body language of politicians, and he noticed that with Trump, the body language he exhibited back on his TV show was very confident. You know, he would take up the whole table, have his elbows out and shoulders back, look very stern. And in his political career, very fingers interlaced, not taking up a lot of room, slunched down, head down, and just this interesting lack of confidence in his political career. Which is really and the self hugs too. When we cross our arms, that's a way of comforting ourselves. It's a little, I'm gonna give myself a little hug. It's warm and it's cozy. That's why we do that when we're anxious, because it's a form of self-soothing. But he noticed that Trump would do all these things now in his political career, and I'm curious if you guys have any theories as to why he might be less confident now. I think it made more sense that he was more confident on TV because, he played a reality TV character. He is a character. But prior to being elected, he didn't really have any experience in politics. So it makes sense that the whole time it seems like he exudes this self-doubt and wanting people to, praise him and say, no, you're the best president. Like, it's the way that he exudes that lack of confidence just by the way he stands. It's so fascinating. Chad, hi, how are you? Oh, I missed one of your messages, Liberace. You said at the time I preferred that they knew. It was always over stuff with the store I worked at, like, oh, we gotta set this floor plan, and I'd do the tongue-in-cheek thing, so it was a fun thing. Oh, good. I'm really glad that worked out. Chad, how have you been? Chad Zilch. How's preparing for the holiday season going? Good, just got home from work. Oh, I'm glad you could hop on and join us. We were talking about different body language expressions. Yeah, I could see Trump's gradual ego implosion over 2016 to 2020. Yeah, I could go deeper into that. That's a rabbit hole. That's a rabbit hole. um, it's so funny because in my notes I wrote, if somebody takes the bait, talk about all these things, and I gotta tell myself, Daddy, you gotta. I'm glad you appreciate that. Thanks, Louie. We talked about shame. It's not powerful, especially if what you did isn't a big deal. Like, think about if you hang your head in shame. That somebody will think, oh man, I guess he did something really bad. But if you, mess up and you feel awkward and you say, oh, sorry, and you just bring a smile on your face and you sort of treat it like it wasn't a big deal, and you don't hang your head, it communicates it's not that bad. It's not a big deal. But whenever you put your head down, you say, oh, I'm so sorry, it communicates that your mistake was much worse than it actually was. I actually talked to somebody who's trans, one of my friends, who said that when she gets misgendered, it bothers her so much when people say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She was saying, like, don't make a big deal out of it. Just say, oh, my bad. Then correct yourself and move on. And that's exactly the approach you should take if you mess up in conversation, is don't It's just like if a baby hurts itself, like a toddler falls, if you look at them and you go, oh, poor baby, the baby is like gauging from you how it should react to things because it's new to this world. So if it sees you look concerned, it's going to cry because it just fell and it saw how you reacted to it. But if a toddler falls and you go, ha ha, what a fun time, and you smile, like my friend used to literally, if her 2-year-old would fall over, she'd go ha ha, and I'd think, why do you do that? And she's like, it shows him it's not a big deal because he's gauging from me. So that's exactly how we want to treat shame. If we show, oh god, I gotta be so embarrassed, it's gonna put that on the other person. But if you show through your body language, hey, this isn't a big deal, we'll get through this, it's gonna make the other person feel that way too. Liberace says, yeah, we're humans, not perfect. Exactly. Um, yeah, so, how do you guys react when you feel like you messed up? And how easy do you find it to just drop it and move on versus clinging on to it and trying to talk it out? Where do you find yourself on that spectrum as far as when something goes wrong in conversation? Are you more towards, everything's cool, we'll just breeze by it, or really nailing home the point to, oh my god, everything's okay, we need to talk this out, or somewhere in between? Like, where do you find yourself on that spectrum? Um, and while I wait to hear from you guys, oh, Louis says, I struggle with shame even over the little things. I feel a lot of pressure to try to recover. Okay. Yeah, it sounds like you're putting a lot on yourself. I mean, I know that you are somebody who identifies with being very anxious a lot of the times, and I feel bad that you feel so worried about that, you if especially like around your friends or something, it's like, if you ever mess up, like, Louis the Claw, we love you, like, we're not gonna judge you for little things. Or it's just like Liberace said, we're humans. um Pharaoh City, hi Pharaoh City, how are you? um I skipped a couple messages, let me jump back. Liberace says, I am trying not to take everything to heart because when I mess up, I have a history of really putting myself down when I screw up. Well, I think that shows a lot of maturity to try not to take things to heart now because you know that, you don't deserve to be put down like that. Um, and I think that's great. You're trying to work on that. Pharaoh City says, I feel like whenever I make a mistake, I definitely put my head down subconsciously because I catastrophize that whenever I make a mistake that's bigger than it is. Um, yeah, I mean, in times of my life where I felt self-conscious, I would find myself literally running into things like branches as I'm walking because my head is hanging so low as I'm walking, just because I feel like that. So I definitely get that. Louis says, thank you so much. Aw, well, yeah, of course. That's what we're here for. We're all here to support each other. Um, Farrah City says, I'm good. Thanks for asking. I hope you're well too. Well, I'm glad to hear it. And I always love hearing from you guys and seeing how you're doing and the fact that you come in and check up. So thanks for being here. And I am doing quite well. Louis the Claw says, my therapist helped a lot suggesting I start with mantras, or I start mantras with I'm allowed. Hmm. So I'm allowed to misinterpret what someone said and talk it out later. That's that's great. That's really great advice. He also says, I'm allowed to wake up late and miss an appointment sometimes. I'm allowed to take a sick day. That's actually wonderful. I want to start implementing that because I feel like, do you guys have that too where you have like sort of a guilt complex where you feel like, oh, I shouldn't take this break, or I shouldn't take it easy today, or I shouldn't mess up. I should, like, even with the missing the doctor's appointment thing, like, I relate to that so much. Like, if I miss something like that, it's, I just feel like I crumble. So that's brilliant. Thanks for sharing that advice. Do you guys relate to that? See, even my voice there was like, uh, I'm like noticing all of the little awkward things that I do now, like in my inflection and touching my face. Like now that I learned all this, I'm like hyper aware. Um, for Liberace, she says, I like the allowed thing. I'm going to try that. Well, good. Yeah, definitely. See, I like that we're like exchanging ideas. Louis says, yeah, we put too much on ourselves, and you're welcome. Aw, I love you guys. Um, oh, this is another body language thing we do, but this is one that you don't want to override because it's subconscious. Um, when your eyebrows go up with a quick flash, like, and you notice somebody that you know already, and your voice goes up, so you say hey, versus hey. Like if I said hey, I'm trying to get your attention, but if I say hey, it's like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. My eyebrows come up, I recognize you. You don't have to put that on purposely, but that's just something to keep in mind whenever somebody sees you. If you're like, why is that person looking at me? Maybe they notice you. It's kind of exactly why I'm afraid to go to my high school reunion, is because I feel like everybody is going to come up to me with eyebrows raised like, hey, Danny! And I'm not going to know who the fuck they are. So which of those habits which of those might you have a habit of doing, and what exacerbates it? The shame, the hands in pockets, the hands and fingers coming together. What of those things have you noticed yourself doing, and what do you think brings that about in you? Now, we're also going to dive a little into how you can attract others with your body language. Also, next week's topic is flirting. So, say we're trying to attract others. Say you're flirting with Shrek, all right? But he's like an onion and you're trying to peel back his layers. How do you get Shrek's love? We're gonna learn how to not disappoint Shrek. So, say you're at a public event, a bar or whatever, and you're trying to pick up chicks or ogres. To get people drawn to you, you want people to come up and talk to you. How do you do it? Guys, how do we get Shrek to come fuck us? What did we learn so far? Liberace says, I'll talk slower if I'm feeling shame. I'm fine. Oh, that makes sense. Also, Louis says, say I'm an onion too. I love Shrek. He deserves the world. Yes. So how do we get Shrek to come fuck us, right? We are using wide movements to show confidence. Stay out of the swamp. Yes, we'll do the downward hand to be assertive. Stay out of this swamp with our low voices that we learned. But if you're trying to get, if you're trying to get some people to come up to you, if you're at a bar, you're nervous or whatever, you're trying to get Shrek to give you a little smile, use these wide, captivating movements. Because if you're excited, you can't hold your hands locked to your side. You can't be stiff as a board, Move your arms away from your elbows, and you're more interesting to watch. And when I mentioned when studies restricted people's hands, they felt less energetic and communicated less. They even had less recall as to what they even said or what had happened. People in authority gesture wide. So just doing that in a room of crowded people, if they see you moving like that, they're like, wow, what is this guy talking about? He looks really interesting or friendly or excitable. Louis says, the princess movements were too rigid, as he points. Also, moving forward in your seat and using the space, but not getting all up in somebody's space. Moving your hands to the cadence of your voice, doing these snaps, doing these claps, doing these chest pats. These pops of noise makes everybody's eyes go to you. People who aren't even listening to your conversation will be drawn because you're making these unique sounds. So, I'm curious, how does it feel when somebody accidentally makes eye contact with you. All right? Like you look at somebody and they look back at you and you meet eyes. Do you brush it off with confidence, or does it make you feel dread and anxiety? You know, how do you react with your eyes or your body to the unintentional eye contact? Do you, do you look away right away? How do you react to that? Now, if you're in a bar and you're trying to get people to come up to you, don't do that lack of confidence thing where you scan the room. I know I mentioned that I was searching for that in somebody else to make them feel more comfortable because I knew that they were anxious looking for somebody to talk to. But whenever you actually go out into a bar and you're trying to meet somebody and you're looking around, what that tells somebody is that person's not interesting. Like if you're talking to somebody and they're talking to you, like you go there with your wingman and you're looking around, that says, hey, we're not interesting. We're looking for somebody interesting. But if you are connected in the conversation with that one person, you're not scanning around, that shows the fun is here. The fun isn't out there. I'm not looking for fun out there. The fun is right here, and then people will be drawn to you. And another thing is when you're standing, I'm going to use this horse as an example. So if we're facing like this, one-on-one, that doesn't give anybody else the opportunity to come in. So if we're at a bar and we're facing one-on-one, there's no opportunity for somebody to feel comfortable squeezing in. But if we just adjust our hips to be like this, so we're angled a little bit, and we're talking to each other, we're gesturing widely. It looks like I'm just grabbing him by the neck and choking him, I realize. But, oh wait, he's a puppet, right? No, just kidding. But if we're angled a little bit, so we're in sort of a V shape, that invites somebody else to come in. And if we're doing these wide gestures and we're smiling and talking and genuinely having a good time, people will come in. And if there's 3 of you, do sort of a semicircle thing. And that invites more people. Boop. That invites more people into the conversation. Oh, I missed some of your messages. I'm so sorry. See you, Liberati. Good night. Louis says the surprised eye contact is very situational too. I've felt a whole range of things from fear to flattery. That makes sense. Yeah. I feel that way too. Like I've had people I've been intimidated by where I look at them and I look away versus guys where I'm like, are they trying to give me the flirty eyes? But Farrah City says, regarding making eye contact, I feel like I look away right by force of habit. But recently, I've tried more consciously to hold a gaze and acknowledge them. That is great, actually. The best thing that you can do is doing that, like holding that gaze for a second longer before looking away. So you're not intimidating the person, but you're just showing, hey, I'm not scared right now. We're making eye contact, and now it's over. If you're at a bar and you accidentally make eye contact with somebody, or even if not necessarily on accident, if you make eye contact with somebody, make it long enough that you could just flash them a little smile, like a genuine, little smile, you know what I mean? And that gives them a second to either smile back or look away. But in that moment, you looked confident because you didn't look away. And you didn't just get caught like a deer in the headlights just looking like... Or you're just like... And see how much more confident that feels? So try that next time you're at a bar and you're trying to pick up somebody. Just be confident with your eye contact. So we talked a little bit about, how to face yourself and things like that, or how to face your friend in a way that invites people. Smiling is also a big thing because we talked about smiling whenever somebody looks at us. We need to make sure it isn't fake, especially with the eyes, so you don't look like a murderer. My mom, I love her, bless her heart, but she has this tendency where I'll look at her and she wants to convey that she's having a good time, so she'll go like this. which is very the when it's so unsettling. It's like, look at this. Tell me that doesn't make you feel like you're being stared into your soul. When we smile, if it's a genuine smile, we bring up our eyes. So even whenever we have masks on, you know, like for the pandemic, you can still see it. Like, versus if I drop these cheeks and I just smile with my mouth, that I look like a murderer. That face is hilarious, right? I can't even fucking. Oh my god. I can't even make it with a straight face sometimes. But yeah, that definitely shows, you know, a smile can show if it's genuine, nervous, reserved. You can't necessarily tell dishonesty from body language, like touching, like some people say, oh, if they touch their nose or they're looking up and away or to a certain direction. No, you can't actually tell if somebody's lying from their body language. But you can tell comfort and discomfort. You know, comfort, muscles in the face relax. We smile, we laugh, our pupils are slightly wider, our lips are full, our chin is further out. See, that made me want to put my chin further out as I said that. But if you're pensive, you know, your lips might get smaller, like see how they're not as full, they get thinner because you're pensive, you're nervous. So even in the way that you use your mouth, keep that in mind whenever talking to people so that you could exude this confidence. What not to do. So we talked about, you know, don't scan the room. If you have to look around, you could peer over the person's shoulder that you're talking to, but don't make it obvious by doing that robot scan around the room. Because again, that just shows people, hey, the fun is out there. The fun's not with us. It's with whatever we're looking for. And you don't want to give off that vibe. If you do this, you will be magnetic and people will draw to you because they'll see that you're having a great time. They'll overhear the conversation, they'll chime in. Hell, there's been times where I'll strike up conversations effortlessly with people because I just exude this sort of, I'm not saying I always do, but sort of confidence in the way that I carry myself, and I use big gestures, and so people know that I'm approachable because I do this. So it'll definitely happen the more you incorporate this. I'm just gonna look through my notes real quick. So we talked about hands, we talked about the hugs things. And we did talk about, like, if you have your palm open versus down, floppy fingers versus, you know, like if your wrists are floppy all the time versus, you know, stern. We talked about those differences a little bit. It's funny because people try to be unreadable, but it's very hard because we express these things so subconsciously. So let's say we're trying to get a nice sexy ogre at the bar and bring him back to our swamp. These tips are for girls, but guys, you can notice these in women to see if they are interested and look for these signs. So if two girls are hanging out and they turn their bodies slightly outward, like me and the horse, you know that you are invited to come in. And that's not necessarily specific to just that gender. But, you know, crossed legs, that natural hip swing when she walks, which I literally have the worst walk out ever because I just walk and I don't move my arms and I just meh, like a penguin waddle. But if you're looking for somebody who's showing confidence, you know, you can see these types of things. And women, if you're looking for that natural, sexy hip shake, apparently it's easier in heels than in sneakers. To which I say, fuck that. Heels are painful. Why put things that hurt on your feet to attract men? But that is just me. If you want to go through the extra effort and You think I mean, if you can walk in heels properly, fucking more power to you. Um, but they were saying like, oh, women, you shouldn't sit too stiff. Uh, you'll seem too elegant. You'll look like too much of a diva. I don't know. I thought that was interesting. In what ways do you notice your own body language giving off more of a masculine or feminine vibe? I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing if a man shows some sort of femininity. You know, like John Mulaney, I think he shows a lot of confidence, even though his movements can be interpreted as feminine, to which he jokes about himself. I think I have very masculine postures a lot of times. Like, I'll sit with, like, you know, my legs spread and, like, a dude bro, you know, whereas women normally sit like this. I'm like, hey, what's up? So, I don't know. How do you guys relate to that? Do you feel like you sit more masculine, more feminine? What are your thoughts? Um, we're also going to talk about how we can see if somebody's enjoying the conversation or the presence that you give through nonverbal communication. If somebody angles out of the conversation, so we have the eyes, the neck, the shoulders, the hips, and the feet. So if we're talking and we're at a bar, right? And I'm sitting like this and you come and approach me and I look over and I respond to something you say. And then I look back. Oh, I think my body language is more feminine. I sit with my legs crossed a lot. Oh, see, that makes me feel better about sitting more like masculine, like the opposite gender. It's like, it shouldn't matter. You know what I mean? It's just be, you can just be you. I don't think of my posture in terms of masculinity or femininity very often. What gender is a robot? Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. See, I just did it where I didn't know how to answer the question, so I just said that's a great question to bide myself time. Now I'm giving away all my secrets. I think my gender is nerd. Perhaps. We'll go with that because I didn't I didn't know what gender robot was. So I'll take that as an answer. Yeah, oh, I was talking about the eyes thing. So like if I respond and I just look over to you or I just turn my head over to you, that indicates as soon as I'm finished with this sentence, I'm going to turn my head back because I'm not engaged in the conversation. This is uncomfortable to turn my head this way. But if I turn my body towards you, like my shoulders, that shows a little bit more comfort. I'm showing more of my body to you. I'm facing more towards you. And that's indicating that I'm more interested. But if you notice, my knees are still facing this way, even though I'm turning this way. The more engaged in a conversation that you get me, I'll bring my knees out. The hardest thing to fake is the feet, which way the feet are pointing. Because even if somebody might be faking that they're interested in, or that they're not interested in you, my God, I had a stroke in the middle of that sentence, you can still look at which way their feet are pointing, and that'll show where they want to go. Have you guys had any instances where you picked up on this on somebody else and it made you realize, okay, this person isn't feeling out this vibe or whatever? For me personally, I noticed it when I was at an art museum and I saw this mom going around with her kid. And the kid's looking in awe at everything and she's so amazed. And I find out that she's being homeschooled and they just let her teach they just teach her whatever she's interested in learning about. And I was so fascinated by that because I thought that was the coolest shit. And I started asking her questions about it, but I see her point her feet away and I realize, oh, she's trying to get back to teaching her kid because she's literally trying to homeschool her right now, so I should leave her alone. By looking at her feet and realizing it, it gave me that cue so that I didn't, keep her engaged. I also do that with people when I'm going to say a quick passing thing but don't want them to feel like I'm catching them up in conversation, is I will turn my back and say something to show, hey, I'm just saying a final comment, goodbye. Do you guys make a conscious effort of how you turn your body, or in what ways might you consciously use that to your advantage. We talked a little bit about eye contact and the direction of their gaze. You know, when are they maintaining eye contact? When does their gaze wander as you're talking to them? Another way to figure out if you are talking to somebody who's enjoying your conversation is ask yourself, are you asking interesting questions? You know, if somebody says, huh, interesting, cool, that's not interested. You know, monotone responses, hesitant choices, distance apart mean this lack of familiarity. And an add-on comment shows that they have an interest. A longer answer shows that they're interested. You know, I think I might have subconsciously angled away if I'm tired of the conversation. See, I need to get better at that because sometimes it's so hard for me because I don't want to make somebody feel bad by angling away. But I do it whenever I do Uber because, like, if somebody's talking to me and I've already dropped them off, I'll, like, sometimes for the last few words, I'll turn around and start talking. But if they're getting to a point where it's like, I want to get to my next ride and this conversation is over, I'll, like, turn my body here and I'll look back. And sometimes they still... Not everybody reads body language that well, so sometimes they still don't get the hint that this means, okay, time to get out of my car, and they'll keep talking. To which I explicitly then have to say, oh, hey, I gotta get to my next ride, but it's good talking, whatever. You know, because not everybody is keen on this body language, but knowing that, and it's interesting that you said you think you might have subconsciously angled away, because all of this is subconscious. It's really hard to fight that, but it's also interesting to look at the parallels of when we consciously do it to convey a message that we maybe are too scared to say ourselves or don't know how to implement it without hurting the other person's feelings, so it's easier to put it into words using body language. So yeah, any add-on comment shows interest, a longer answer shows interest. We all know the okay, interesting resume. We'll call you back. They're not calling you back. You notice that pattern. Yeah, I think I've never thought to use it consciously before this. Oh, well, I'm really glad that this is helpful. Yeah, of the stuff that we went over so far, what has been the most helpful or most interesting? Like, I'm really interested to hear from you guys what you think about it. Let's see. We got through a good bit. Let's see here. Oh, this one's verbal, but if I notice somebody's uninterested in the questions I'm asking, like I try to ask more open-ended questions. And I do this on stream all the time, if you notice. You know, I write out questions in my notes that I ask you, and I make a very conscious effort to make those open-ended. You know, if you see people looking uninterested or see disinterested body language when talking to them, try this, you know. See if, when you do that, if it makes them more receptive. Instead of saying, like, oh, do you like your job? Say, oh, what do you think of your job? How do you feel about working in that field? Blah, blah, blah. Like, somebody even specifically told me, wow, you ask really introspective questions. You didn't just ask me, do you like your job? You asked, how do I like it? And they were like, do you work in psychology or something? And like, making me blush. Like, that was such a affirming thing to hear a stranger say, is asking if I worked in psychology because I ask insightful questions. It was like, all right, I'm doing a good job. So make a habit to try to ask those open-ended questions and see how that works for you. So hard to choose the most interesting part of the time. There was a lot of info. I think the different types of eye contact and how you can be... I got a follower! Tahayush, did I say that right? 18 is now following. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Louis the Claw says, so it's hard to choose the most interesting part this time. About the eye contact and how a person can be intentional about a glance was particularly interesting. Ayashta. Well, I'm glad to have you here. How are you doing tonight? Um, and how did you find this channel? I'm always happy to see new people. Are you American? Yes, I am. Some people say I have an accent though, so I never know if people can tell where I'm from. Are you American? That's why you say it wrong. Oh, the a. Oh, is it a instead of ah? Ayushta? Ah, Ayushta. Ayushta. Okay, is that right? Ayushta? Because you said pronounce it like this, and I'm like trying to interpret. That's my bad. Don't stretch it. Okay. Ayushta. Ayushte. Ayushte. Oh, so both of the A's are not stretched. Did I get it right? I feel so bad. See, this is why I was so bad at being a substitute teacher, is anytime I would try to read the list, all the kids would just make fun of how bad I pronounced their names. No. It's oh no, I'm doing such a bad job. I'm sorry. It's so click on it YT. How to say it. Oh. Oh, I clicked on your account. Um I'm so bad. See, I feel like I'm just gonna keep butchering it, and now I'm embarrassed that I'm gonna keep fucking it up. How to say it? Not click, check. Oh! Oh! I shall do that. Okay. How to pronounce, whoops. A-Y-U-S-H-T-A-H. Okay, we're gonna learn.
Ayush.
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 Ayush. Okay. I checked it out on YouTube. Okay, it says from India. Is that an Indian are you from India? 'Cause that's what it said from yep. Oh, okay. Look at that. Ayush. Well, it's nice to meet ya. A big hello from all the way here in America. And I learned something new today. I learned how to pronounce things better, and that I should go on YouTube to pronounce people's usernames. Well, how are you doing tonight? Also found you through your anxiety tag. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you could join us, and what attracted you to looking through the anxiety tag? Are you this channel, if you haven't been here before, it's a it's kind of like a safe space where people can go to feel comfortable and talk about what they're going through. And I like to pick a psychology topic and ways to, like, help build confidence. So that's why this one I chose nonverbal communication, because I feel like, oh, okay, I'll see you in a bit. I feel like people who have anxiety could benefit from learning nonverbal cues, especially social anxiety. So we were talking about, let's see, uh, oh, again, this is a bit more of a verbal thing, but when asking questions, like, see if you can relate what you're saying to them. I went on a rant about animated movies being made into live action films, and I didn't want to bore somebody, so I said, all right, what do you do for a living? He said he works on cars, and I related that to him. I said, well, how about, the way they're making these newer cars? They break down faster, blah, blah, blah. And it got us talking because I related it to what he was saying. So that's more of a verbal thing, but a little tip. If, like, whenever you guys talk to something, do you have that anxiety or that fear that what if somebody's not interested in what I'm saying? Or, do you guys have that worry as well? Um, and we're going to talk a little bit about. Louis says, yeah, absolutely. Yes. Uh, I am back. What's up? Yeah, we're about to dive into how you can tell if somebody is irritated by looking at them, because we were just talking about that anxiety that happens um whenever you're not sure if somebody's interested in what you're saying. So, were you asking something before? Um, oh, I was explaining basically what the channel is, and I was asking, like, since you said you found me through the anxiety tag, um if you feel like you're like an anxious person, like what made you seek out an anxiety tag. And I was wondering, since you clicked on this one about like body language, um what attracted you to this. Like, I think that might be prevalent with social anxiety. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I was just interested to know what brought you to learn more about body language. Um, but yeah, as far as telling if somebody is irritated by looking at them, we can break down these patterns. Louis says, sometimes I go into conversations with something to share, and sometimes I enter a conversation mainly to listen and contribute. It depends on if I think the people I'm talking to want to hear about what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I'll try to learn from them and connect my own experiences on the fly. Huh. Wow. Actually, I just learned something from you, because I had a situation with somebody where they would often talk about themselves, and I didn't get along with them well because I am an attention whore and I like people to ask me about me too. So the idea of just relate, like, that's really cool. That you can just sit back and listen, and it's okay that you're not the center of attention, and that you just try to learn from them. Like, I really respect that. That's something I want to get better at. Um I go through anxiety, depression, overthinking, future tripping all the time in an infinite loop. I also might have ADHD or ADD. Also didn't read the stream topic. Oh, okay. Yeah, that overthinking thing. We were just talking about me and Louis the Claw were just talking earlier about practicing meditation to try to stop that overthinking, because I have that too, so I totally understand. And as far as the ADHD thing goes, I relate to that too. Like, I started taking Adderall, and I swear it changed my life. Like, I feel like I can focus better. I feel like I actually forgot to take it today, but in general, I feel like it helps me regulate my emotions better. What makes you feel like you might have ADHD? Um, Louis says, I have a need to be heard for sure, but I understand not everyone can do that for me. See, that's very selfless, and I respect that. That's something that uh, I wish me from a few years ago could have heard. You know what I mean? Um, we can tell if somebody's irritated with us through micro expressions. I happen to be pretty good at picking up on like the little subtle cues in somebody's like face if something seems off even for a second. What that means is something just triggered an emotion that couldn't be repressed. But since they didn't fully want to express it, they want to hide it. Um, just like, for instance, you hate needles and you need a flu shot, and you're inching away from the person saying, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm not scared of needles," but their body language doesn't match their words. That's a meta communication. Um, cause for symptoms, I have a hard an extreme time focus on anything but mostly my studies. Oh yeah. Um, that I've had a lot of difficulty with that too. When I worked at an office job, especially because it's like if you're not on the computer working, you're not doing anything. If you're thinking about anything, you're not doing something, and it's such a crushing feeling. Um, to feel like, okay, I just have to focus and not being able to. Um, I'm curious. Have you looked into maybe going to a doctor to get diagnosed, or like going to somebody who might be able to prescribe ADHD meds? After like a week or so of taking, or no, I'd say a month or so of taking mine and letting it build up in my system and really taking note of the way it changed things for me. Um, I noticed it changed a lot for the better. I had really dragged my feet on starting ADHD meds for a long time. Can't go, don't have money, parents don't understand this. Um, if you look up nonprofit therapy near you, uh, because I talked to my cousin about this, because she mentioned to recommend people who come to me like offer therapy. Um, India is the worst place for mental health. Oh yeah, so because I was gonna suggest. Oh, I hadn't even thought about that. Well, while I'm not a licensed therapist, I want you to know that this community of people that we've cultivated here, we're here for you, and that's actually why I created this, is because there's a lot of people who can't afford mental health, or they don't have mental health help, or they don't have people in their life that they can talk to. Like, it sounds like even your parents, you said, won't listen to you or won't understand how you're feeling in this. This is a safe place for people to come and feel heard. So, if you're ever feeling anxious, we're here for you. We got your back. And also, on my homepage, after this stream, if you're looking for more resources as to certain types of anxiety or certain types of stuff that you're worried about or going through, I have a whole thing on there that, because I used to work for a crisis line, where people who were in terms of crisis and they were scared, having panic attacks, whatever it is, suicidal, they could call in and ask for help. And if we needed external resources to give them, it was that link that we would send. So there's a plethora of other things that you can go to after the stream, and hopefully, whether it's body dysmorphia, eating disorder, anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, whatever it is you're going through in that moment, all of that is available on there. So if you check out my profile, there's a big link to it on that. And I really hope that, did working in crisis line affect you mentally? Actually, that is a really good question. It really did. I actually had to stop. I only did it a few times before I just like had a breakdown and had to stop. I wish that I could have been stronger because I really wanted to be there and help people. But it was so high pressure. Um, And, my name in real life is Danny, and I had a girl reach out to me whose name was also Danny, who was suicidal, and it just hit so close to home. And that was the last day I ever did it, because I was like, I can't do this again. I feel like I'm going to be letting these people down. Um, but in doing the stream, where I feel like I can help people and talk to people, I feel like I don't let people down. I feel like I can be there for people and do what I like and feel comfortable, and like there isn't this huge pressure or life or death situation. So I've sort of found a way to take what I enjoyed about the crisis line and put it into sort of my own thing. Um, so yeah, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts as far as like, your journey in finding like help for your mental health. And I had no idea that it was like that in India. But um but know that you have this space here, and I, encourage you to, still reach out to friends and other people that you could trust. But yeah, whatever whatever we could do, we're here from you. We're the Shorty Pop family, isn't that right, Louie? It's stigmatized here. Oh, yeah, that's something I really took for granted. As far as living in America, is it's really starting to get less and less stigmatized here. Um, you know, Even in a therapy session, like so many people strangers will mention to me that they're in therapy, you know? And when I was a kid, in America, if somebody said I'm in therapy, I would think, we used to think, oh, they must be crazy if they're in therapy. But now nobody thinks that. Even LGBTQIA plus is stigmatized here. Wow. Yeah, that's horrible. Do you identify under that umbrella of the LGBT plus community? I identify personally as oh, okay. I wasn't sure, but that's horrible that it's treated that way there. Um but hopefully hopefully that changes, as it should. And I'm glad people are more open about that stuff now. Oh, uh in terms of discomfort, oh, my own family doesn't understand those things. Yeah, that and that really is such a shame when families don't, like, it breaks my heart. Even here, it's prevalent where a kid will come out as gay and be worried that they're going to get kicked out by their parents. Like, I have a friend who's trans, and she's scared that if she, even receives a piece of mail that doesn't have her dead name on it, that her parents are going to be like, what the fuck, what's this name, what's going on, and freaking out and having to come out. Like, she's literally waiting until she moves out of her parents to be able to come out because she's worried that they might kick her out. um Louis says there are some families who feel this way about mental health and LGBTQ plus in America. We are starting to have healthcare that supports these individuals, and there are support groups and supportive cultures around here. Yeah, actually, while I'm at it, let me pull up, if you ever are in crisis, uh, well, here, let me give you this link first. This is the link of self-help stuff that was given to me through the crisis text line that I was talking about. And then this is another resource you can go to if you're ever in a, having an anxiety attack. Crisis hotline. Oh wait, hang on. .org. See if I could pull it up. Here we go. This website is another resource for you. If you're having a panic attack or something, that was the place I worked for. How often do you stream? I stream every Wednesday from 8 to 10. But I'll go a little later if there's, still stuff to talk about. But yeah, I do it once a week. Eventually, if you see the follower goal in the top corner here, once I get to affiliate, which is when I get 50, then I'm gonna start streaming more times in a month. Only Wednesday. Well, just for now, it will go up soon. Once I get 50 followers, I'll be eligible to be affiliate, and that'll motivate me to start doing more of these more days. But yeah, I'm really glad that you came. You should also put the mental health tag. Oh, that's a good idea. I'm gonna write that down. Thank you. I appreciate that. And all the related tags. I'll have to look at which tags I have up right now. But yeah, I didn't even know there was a mental health tag. Thank you. Um, and let me know what you think of those resources too. And I wish I could do more, but I'm really glad that you came here, and you're always welcome. Well, I said 8 to 10, but that's my time. I'm not sure what time it would be there. Like, I search for anxiety, depression. Oh, safe space. I didn't even know that was one either, but I'm gonna put that down. 8:43 a.m. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's 10:15 p.m. here. That's crazy. Um Yeah, we were talking about how to plus 530. Oh, so that's funny because for some reason I didn't think it was possible for I thought like all time zones just skipped 1 hour. I didn't know it could be like in minute increments either, like 30 minutes or whatever. So that's why I was like thrown off for a second. I'm like, how is it 43? Huh. Um, but uh we were talking about like signs of discomfort that we could notice in people. And so if you notice somebody with, crossed arms, or if they bring one shoulder up, looking down, fidgeting, or shifting their stance, um, even like lightly touching the eye, that is something that comforts us. So like even if you try that at home right now, just try to touch your eye. Like doesn't that feel weirdly like soothing? We know if somebody does this in the middle of conversation, they're doing this to calm themselves, because they could either just do it like quickly, or maybe they're like, you know what I mean, like showing frustration and doing that to calm themselves. So when we see that, we know this person is distressed. Um, you can notice discomfort in the face and the body. If we see it on the face, we see, I have to go now because of studying. Okay. Well, thanks so much for coming by. I'm really glad that you could be here, and I hope to see you again. Um, Good luck with everything. Let me know if those resources help you, and I hope to see you next week. Have a good one. Um, aw. See what I mean? It's such a nice community. And thank you, Louie, for being so welcoming to our new guest, to our new member of the Shorty Pop family. Um, so we were talking a bit about finding discomfort on the face. Oh, one last thing. Any socials? Oh, that's a good question. Well, this is my here. This is my YouTube. Well, it's also my name IRL, so I hope I'm not doxing myself, but here. If you go on there on YouTube, there's also all of my like archived streams on there, and I'll be posting shortened versions of them eventually, like editing them down to like the juiciest parts. So keep an eye out on there. You can follow me on that, and then if you ever miss any, and maybe it's been a few weeks and deleted off the stream archive, you can still see them on there. But yeah, thanks again for wanting to check it out. I don't have, so I technically have an Instagram, but I never use it. It's also Danny Cassander, but like I never use it. If you go on YouTube, you can get a hold of me, but I just never really go on Instagram. I should create an Instagram for this stream. I'm gonna make a note of that as well. Yeah, you've given me some great ideas tonight. Thank you so much. Now I'm gonna know to put on some tags and create more socials for my channel. I appreciate it. Um, Thinking of how to expand. Uh, yeah. So I'm probably gonna wrap some things up here. Well, let's see here. The one with violin on Insta. Yeah. That's me. I forgot I even had anything of me playing violin on there. Yeah. That is me. Um, when we, let's see here. Do you know? Yes, Lindsay Sterling. Oh my God. I've seen some of her stuff. That one where she plays violin in that ice cavern is fucking incredible. Oh my God. Yes. I need to watch more of her. Um, hmm. See, that reminds me to put that into my YouTube Red shuffle next time I'm on checking out music. I've been listening to so much Glass Animals lately that I forget that other bands exist sometimes. That the Brave Enough documentary. No, I haven't even heard of that. I'm gonna write that down too. Hmm. I didn't know there was. I didn't even know there was a documentary of her. Glass Animals hype. Yes, thank you, Chad. Building up that hype. Yeah, I'll have to check out that documentary. It's on YouTube Premium. Oh, shit, yeah, I have YouTube Premium. Well, that'll be perfect. I definitely am gonna check that out. I have not practiced as much in a while. I've mostly been putting my efforts into violin and my stream rather. But see, that should inspire me to get back into that. All right. Well, hey, see you later, and thanks for sharing that stuff, and hope you have a great night. Um, so we were talking about signs of discomfort in people, and how you can notice that on the face and body. So for discomfort, we see the furrowing of the brows, the squint, the tucking down of the chin. We cover our eyes. If the face seems to show two different emotions, like uneven, frown on one side, smirk on the other side, it feels uncomfortable when we don't see the full emotion on the face. We know something isn't right. We look at the forehead, we see a smooth forehead or a furrow forehead, that shows discomfort, where this shows everything is okay. The two lines between the eyebrows, fun fact, is called the glabella. If someone says like the earth is flat, you're going to show that those two glabella lines where you're like, this person. Also the bunny nose that crinkles up in disgust, and the lips, we see the difference between a social smile, a curious smile, interested smile. The mouth shows a lot. Even at a young age, we notice that, and since covering the mouth shows discomfort, like it makes us uncomfortable. I remember even watching a baby freak out when I tried to look at them with my mask on. It like gave me this look, and I took the mask off and smiled, and the baby smiled back because it could see my whole face. Um, Actually, I'm wondering how you guys think COVID might affect childhood development in terms of understanding facial expressions and nonverbal communication. Although, fortunately, we can see it through the eyes and through the body and the hands and the way we hold our head. So, there are ways that we can tell emotion even if somebody is wearing a mask. Um, even with the lip purse, how Donald Trump does that butthole mouth face where it's like we can tell he's not up for that. He's upset. Lip biting, pulling on the collar, those types of things also show distress. And then we notice it on the body, we notice like, yeah, that's really Chad says, yeah, that's really interesting, not being able to see the bottom of people's faces in public. Yeah, it's freaky. Actually, I've even found myself smiling harder, like under my mask. Like I'll try harder to bring underneath my cheeks up. Like I never smile like this. This looks like a painful smile. But I'll like painfully smile to people if I have my mask on, just so they can see it in my eyes more. I do that too. Thank you! I'm glad I'm not the only one. Oh my god, when people stopped wearing masks so much, did you find yourself having to like dial back the smile? Like, cause oh, that fucked me up because I was smiling so big at people and I had to remember you don't have the mask on, you don't need to smile this big. Like, please tell me I'm not the only one that went through that. Oh my god. Huh. Um. Ha ha ha, I think I found a better middle ground for my smile afterwards. Well, that's good. Oh boy. It was like smiling practice. That's adorable. um Ways that we can sense discomfort on the body. Chest. If the breathing shifts from the belly to the chest, they're trying to hold in a negative emotion. Robert Downey Jr. got heated in an interview when somebody asked him about his drug use and father issues. And the interviewer didn't notice these early signs of, breathing from the chest, things like that, showing that irritation, that he kept prying to the point where Robert Downey Jr. walked out of the interview. You have to be good at reading yourself to get better at reading other people. So after we've been talking about this a little bit, how are you feeling about your ability to gauge somebody's body language, or your ability to attract somebody with your body language, or your ability to exude confidence with your own body language? How are you feeling about all this now that we've been talking about it for a bit? We know about the neck, shoulders, hands, and thumbs, how we react to things. If our chest is up, if we're turned to an angle. Let's see. Also, it's important to notice inconsistencies of others. Don't read too much into a single thing, obviously, because we were talking before about, oh, is this person mad by this one single expression that they made, blah, blah, blah. Look at the full thing and picture, but trust your gut. If something seems off, might be subconsciously noticing some nonverbal cues not being consistent. And I'm going to list some very general things in a sec. Louis says, I think I learned a lot of new information, especially how much somebody angles their body towards you when they're talking. There are so many little pieces that I feel like I'd forget a lot of in practice. That's a great point, too. The biggest thing is practice, putting this into practice, because just knowing this information doesn't do as much. So, going back in and watching this video, the archive, to brush up on it again. And eventually I'm going to get around to editing the videos so that way I can edit them down and things like that. So that it will be easier to get bite-sized, here's a 10-minute wrap-up of Shorty Pop's most recent thing. So I'm really glad that you got a lot out of it. Also, some very general things I'm gonna list as far as body language goes. Eye contact. Is it overly intense? Is it not enough? Or is it just right? We have the voice. Is there confidence or is it strange? We have gestures that are tensed or relaxed. Shoulders raised up or down. We learned about, the touch and everything. One last thing I'm going to go over is how do we play things off if somebody shows discomfort? So imagine, if you will, you just told somebody you like Home Alone 1 better than Home Alone 2. Which I can't imagine anybody ever saying that. Oh, Louie! Oh, my heart. I was waiting for that, and you did not disappoint. Oh, I love you so much. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. So imagine you just told somebody that, and you see that eye twitch of irritation. How do you use body language to help the other person feel more comfortable without directly addressing the fact that you saw them irritated? Well, we display comfort through our eyes, or we cover them when something bothers us, we move slightly away and angle ourselves. So the closer we get, the more intense we look. This can cause some tension or discomfort. So if you feel like you fucked up, you feel like you made an awkward situation, you notice some sort of discomfort, all you gotta do is just try to move back and angle yourself so that your chest isn't, parallel. Just move back and angle yourself, and that'll put the other person at ease and it makes them more comfortable subconsciously. So I think that's everything I got for you today. What did you guys think of the stream? What are your thoughts? I know I asked a little bit ago, what you learned the most. I'm always interested to hear constructive feedback and what you guys think. And I'm really thankful. Fantastic stream, Shorty Pop. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I felt some kind of way at first because not as many people showed up, and a part of me was like, oh, I hope I'm not boring to certain people where they don't want to keep coming to the streams or something. And I guess that's sort of my own insecurities just based on the number, but seeing you guys always come back every time, it means a lot, and I really appreciate it. So, and thanks for the words of, affirmation and telling me how much you guys like it. Like, it really does mean a lot. I just want to thank you guys again for coming. Oh, before I hop off, I'm going to post my sources. So that way, if you guys want to look this stuff up, it's all right here. Don't ask why some of it's in caps lock and some of it isn't, but reach character limit. Oh, whoops. Of 500. Sorry I'm always late. Oh my god, you don't have to be sorry at all. I'm glad you even came. Also, thank you so much, Chad. Here, I'm gonna post the sources here, piece by piece, so that way it doesn't go over the character limit. But then this way, if you guys have any more interest in the stuff that we were talking about tonight, then you're able to go forth and check out some more of this. So here you go. These are all the sources I used today to do all my research. Uh, and definitely feel free to check it out. Check out Charisma on Command. They are awesome for learning how to socialize better. And stay tuned for next week where we talk about flirting. We'll get all the ogres in our swamps. Alright, guys. I love you so much. I don't know where my sign-off buddies are. They're probably sleeping in the cuddle puddle behind the couch. But, but thank you guys so much for coming. I love you all so much. Hugs and just have a great night. Louis says good night, Shorty Pop. Alright, I love you guys. Take care. Love you too. Great stream. Aw. Mwah. Love you guys. See ya.